Hello, good evening. I'm Paul. This is Dave. I am a beer drinker and enthusiast, and sometimes I'm too enthusiastic. Dave here is a beer judge and a home brewer, and today we are going to be doing the Cherries Jubelale from Deschutes Brewery in Oregon. They are out of Bend, Oregon, and named after the river there. And we're actually quite excited to try this one. We wanted to do a fruit for some time now, and this is a winter warmer. We had good success with winter warmers in the past. This is barrel aged here according to the bottle, and has live yeast cultures added, so it'll stay fresher longer. And this is an imperial winter warmer, which means it's going to be on the heavier and thicker side.
Yeah, that's one of those key terms you can look for when companies throw imperial. Those styles typically higher alcohol, a little bit more intense, be it more malty. This is also along the same lines of what we've been doing a lot lately, which are winter warmers. Obviously, it's in the winter right now, and even though we're in Arizona, we still enjoy winter warmer beers.
Yes. Without further ado, we will try this barrel-aged winter warmer.
Yeah. It's also, I think, our first fruit beer too, right, Paul?
Yes. This will be our first fruit beer. And one of these days, I'll get a bottle opener for my side.
All right. So my experience with fruit beers have mainly been around things like creeks or Framboesians, which are typically Belgian beers, and they're sour beers. So my understanding with this beer is that they made the Jubelale as a barrel-aged winter warmer, and the owner said that his favorite experience with it was to have cherry jubilee along with it. So he decided to put cherries in it. So it'll be kind of interesting.
I'm looking forward to it. Definitely has the cherry notes.
Yeah. Pick up the cherries right away.
I'm not picking up the vanilla yet.
Picking up some maltiness to it, some malty sweetness, little biscuity.
Very mild smelling beer, to be
Yeah.
honest. It's not a strong smelling beer.
Yeah, not strong, but I think very positive smells to it. The kind of smells that I like in a beer, with the maltiness and the toffee notes.
It's good. The added flavors of the cherries and the vanilla is not real strong. It's just kind of hinting to be there.
Yeah,
It's got a nice deep color to it too. I don't know if we
nice
can
deep color.
get it
Yeah,
in
let
the
me see
light
if I can
so
get
you
that
can
up there.
see that.
It's got a nice little red hue to it.
I'm gonna try shining the light. I'll hold mine up. Or see if that light will come through. We can get the red. Because I'm seeing the red.
Yeah.
I just wish we could catch it on camera better for you guys.
Yeah, it looks like moderately carbonated. It's not heavy carbonated. The head is moderate as well, kind of a light brown.
It's good. It's definitely a drinkable beer. It's definitely warm. I'm starting to get more of the cherry flavor now that I'm a little bit into it. But it's got the alcohol warmth.
What I find interesting with different beers, I think the Sammy Claus and the
other winter warmer we did.
Delirium, that it almost, they were both very high alcohol and they were warm, but you really taste the alcohol. This one I noticed you can really kind of taste the alcohol, how they brew it, how they ferment it. Sometimes the temperature that you're fermenting it at can make a difference on that as well.
Yeah, the glass has pretty decent lacing in it. I do enjoy that more and more as we do more of these videos. It's not very carbonated, like Dave said, and it is definitely got the malty flavors.
I like the malty flavors to it. I like the carbonation. It's not overly bitter. It does have some bittering to it. So you definitely notice that.
The balance
they were
is
really
there.
shooting for balance. I'd be curious to have it without the cherries in it, because I'm picking up kind of a flavor, along with those cherries, and I don't know I don't know if I like it as much with the cherry flavor in it as much as I'd like it without it. So I do know that they make it without the cherry in it. So I'd be kind of curious to kind of compare that too. It's good. I definitely enjoy it.
It's not overly strong either in its flavors, so this is going to be more of a mass appeal. Some of the other beers we've had that have been very strong flavors,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't expect a lot of people to like them. I'd expect people with a certain palate to like them. This one, you don't really need to have a certain palate. Um, it does kind of have a hint of that burnt coffee flavor to the
Mm-hmm.
malt, but it's not overwhelming or offensive to me in any way, even though it's not my thing. I don't find any offense in it. It works. They made a very balanced beer here.
My concern is it has that alcohol warmth to it. You know, for me, I like it when it's a little bit more hidden.
This is nine. What is it? 9.2%.
Yeah, it's definitely in
So
the higher.
it's very high.
More of a malty beer. Certainly some different malt characteristics that I'm tasting in it. The toffee notes, I guess it has a dusted cocoa in it.
Yeah, this is dusted cocoa flavors,
I
but
don't know
I'm
if
not
I'm
really
picking that.
picking that up at all.
Maybe that's what that off flavor I'm chasing.
Because I'm really actually not even noticing the vanilla beans.
I noticed the vanilla.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not noticing it.
I'm not picking up the dusted cocoa. I'm sure it's in there. It definitely has a lot more character when it comes to that. It's not a very hoppy beer, not a very yeasty beer. Some of those like estery characteristics really aren't there. The malts are there, but they're not like elevated into that dark fruit characteristic like that you'll get with a barley wine or some of those
Yeah.
others that we had that they just kind of take this malt characteristic and they jump into this like dark fruit. Not really tasting that as much, catching some of that warmth. I'm catching a lot of the malty flavors. I think the malty flavors in are really, really good.
Yeah, and it's a mild flavored beer. It's not super strong, like I said before. So this is one you could drink quite a bit and it not become too much for your palate. Like I enjoy, 2 or 3 Stella Artois, but beyond that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really interested in drinking Stella Artois. I want to take a switch, but this is good. Although you could reasonably enjoy this the whole evening. That 9.2% alcohol would mean you don't really want to enjoy more than about
You're
4.
probably going to bed early if that's
Yeah.
the case.
You're calling an Uber if you're not at home.
Yeah, it does. It does. And now after tasting it for a little bit, I am picking up a little bit more of the hops in it. Tasting a little bit of the hops. It's got, I believe, East Kent Goldings or EKG if you're familiar with it. It's kind of an English hop. So you'll see it in a lot of different English styles, ESBs, and
The IBUs on it is rated at 50.
yeah. So a
Which
little bit
I
of
don't-
bittering to it.
I don't really pick up that much bittering, just enough to balance it reasonably.
Enough to balance it. It's definitely so. It's interesting when they balance it, they can be both way up high and be really balanced. While your IPAs, the malt characteristics will be lower and the hops will be up higher,
Or
and you're tasting that as much. And I'm not seeing as much as like taste or smell of the hops as much as I'm really just getting it through the bittering. A little bit of the taste, enough to be able to identify that it's definitely an English style kind of hop that they're using on it.
it's a very well balanced beer. I know I keep saying that, but they did a phenomenal job on this one. It's not too strong either way. It's actually very pleasant to drink. As far as us getting into the rating system here, as far as the presentation, I would give this beer a good solid 8 or 8.5. It does look good. I would prefer that the head was a lighter color, but I can't really say anything derogatory about the color of the head. The carbonation's good, the lacing's good, the smell's good. I'm going to go with an 8.5 on it. What do you think, Dave?
Be just a little bit lower than that. I'm going to say 7.5. I like it. It's a real tiny carbonation, which I really like. It does have a little bit of that lacing to it, though I really like the lacing that kind of sticks and kind of leaves a residual, but you'll find that more in sweeter beers. So you almost need something that's a little bit sweeter. The smell, I mean, it's the right smells for me. I like it. from that aspect. I wish it was a little bit more intense, especially for something that's calling themselves out as an imperial, winter warmer. I would expect something like, like a Sammy Claus or, like a Delirium or something
Yeah.
that really has this like, super
Kind
maltiness
of
to
lets
it.
you know it's there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great on a personal preference. Like things maybe a little bit more on that.
As far as the taste is concerned, I'd say they did a very good job, but I'd like more oomph to it. It's very balanced. I'd like it to be a little more in your face, especially with the alcohol content. You'd think it'd be a bit stronger of a flavor of beer. I'm gonna go with a 7.5 on that one.
Okay.
So
Probably just be real close to that. I'm gonna say about a 7. I think that's a fair assessment of it. So if it's a beer, if you're not trying to pick it apart, it's going to be a different experience. I think that when you spend some time really kind of trying to tear it apart, you're a little bit more focused on the
Yes.
individual aspects of it, and it really alters kind of how you enjoy and interact with the beer.
I personally would say, for my overall impression rating on this, they did a phenomenal job.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to sound like I'm down in this product at all because I'm not. They did a phenomenal job. It's just this is a beer review channel, so we kind of got to be a little on the choosy side with things. As an overall impression, I would give this a good 8.75. This is very well done. It's very well put together. It's got a good bit of flavors in it. I would just like them to be stronger,
Mm-hmm.
But as far as a winter warmer, yeah, this will warm you up.
Yeah.
This will definitely warm you up.
It'll definitely warm you up. It's got a great alcohol warmth to it. After a few maybe ski runs, sitting in the lodge, having something like this.
Oh, this would be great.
It would be great.
When it's freaking freezing. In fact, if I were sitting out at the ski lodge on the patio, this would probably be something I'd really like a lot more because everything would be colder. And I think this beer, we don't have it that cold. I think if it was a colder beer, we'd enjoy the flavors to it more.
I'm enjoying it a little bit more warmer as it warms up. And that's typical of an ale. I usually like ales as they warm up. They open up quite a bit more versus a lager. I'm going to say 7.5 on the overall impression. I think it's an excellent beer. Definitely something I would enjoy. If I saw it, I would have it. I'd certainly recommend it.
I would have no problems recommending
I
this
love the
beer.
color. I mean, when
Color's
it comes down to
fantastic.
that, like that ruby red, I'm not a super black beer person, and I'm not a super light beer person, but I really love that like coppery ruby red kind of characteristic in beer. So I certainly like that, and it's got some great malty smells to it, which
Yeah.
makes it really enjoyable.
As far as my personal preference is concerned, given that this 4-pack was $20 and all the different beers that we've tried and I've tried and he's tried and what have you, I would probably rate this as a personal preference of about 7.25.
Okay.
I wouldn't go too far out of my way to have this beer, but at the same time, I would not turn this beer down.
Mm-hmm.
That's
You know-
where I'm at.
And I think I'll match that here with you at a 7.25. I think it's good. I would choose this beer over a lot of other beers that are
Oh
out
yes.
there. It has more of a little bit of a commercial appeal to it.
Yeah, that's my thing. Is that this
It's
is
balanced. It's malty but not too malty. It's hoppy but not too hoppy. It doesn't want to take a risk.
Yeah.
And I love beers that take a risk.
as far as the flavors concerned, the flavors could just be stronger, and especially since they're billing it as Cherries Jubilee, I'd really kind of like to have more of the cherries in there and more of the vanilla. I mean, they made a point of putting vanilla sticks on here as well. So I think if this flavors were just stronger, I'd be happy to give it a higher rating. But it just feels like it's lacking that way when
Yeah.
you drink it.
And they say it's barrel aged. I would have to do a little research to find out how long it's sat in the barrel. So sometimes you'll create some oaky characteristics when it sits in a barrel a long time, but it also typically rounds out some of that high alcohol bite that we're finding here. And I'm just kind of wondering if it's not spending a lot of time in the barrel,
Just enough to
just enough to call it barrel aged, more from a marketing standpoint than an actual trying to really kind of round out the beer. I think that there are some things that they probably could fine tune and they could turn this into an award winning beer because I think the base to their what they're trying to do here is really good and it's definitely a style I really like.
Yeah, no, I like a lot of things about it. I just the problem to me is it just could be much stronger of a flavor.
Hmm.
I mean, not much stronger of a beer. I mean, you're not going to get much stronger than 9.2%, but I think the flavors could be stronger. Everything else on it is fantastic.
I think that's one of the challenges that people have when they start using fruits in beers, um, cherries being it. The best use of fruits in beers that I've seen is when they go the route of like a Kriek or a Framboesian, where it's more on that sour side and it has that yeasty characteristic with that really strong malty character. This is not it's not a sour beer by any means.
No.
It was never designed to be that way. I'm even kind of questioning how they got the cherries in there. That it may just be like a cherry flavoring that was, infused into it afterwards.
I would have to say they probably used real cherries at some point.
They might have.
I would
yeah.
hope they did. Um, I will say though, thinking about it, this, if we were to cut this with a cider, like a cherry cider, it'd probably be phenomenal.
Yeah, and again, like what I think that we're looking at from that aspect is I wish it was more tart and more sweet. You make this a little bit more sweet and tart, and I'd be like, wow, this is an amazing
Yeah,
cherry experience.
that's what I'm saying.
If
Like
they
if
made
we
it a
had
lot more maltier, where it was really just kind of a step more malty, where it's really kind of punching you with some of those dark fruit characteristics, be a great winter warmer with this cherry influence.
yeah,
It just has this too balanced aspect to it where it just doesn't go over
it
the
doesn't
top
take
on
a
any
risk
one
on
of them.
anything.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. Like if we mixed it with like a cherry cider or something, it probably, or even an apple cider, it'd probably really,
Yeah.
really come out well. To be
So I think a
honest.
little bit of more sweetness and a little bit more tartness would really make that cherry jump out. And I think with this packaging, when you look at it, you're thinking,
Yeah, it's gonna
hey,
hit
I'm
you.
thinking cherries. I'm thinking vanilla. They put it right there in words and pictures on the bottle. It creates a perception that doesn't get completely fulfilled. But if we just set all that aside and just
Drink
drink the
the
beer,
beer.
I think it's fantastic.
It's good.
Really
It's
good
good.
beer.
And I really hate to sound negative in one of our reviews, but we have to be honest at the same time. So,
Oh, there's some beers that we're gonna have that are gonna be negative. This is not negative. Yeah.
thank you for watching. We're always willing to, let ourselves out for any suggestions. Please feel free to like and subscribe, put in suggestions. Feel free to let us know what you think we should try next. We're, always willing to do on-site stuff if we can. So with that, I say cheers.
Cheers. And if you've had this beer before, tell us what you think.